How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another episode of the Pursuing Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Peterson. This is the place where you can learn how to master your health, your wealth, and your love all in one place. So I hope you look forward to another great episode with another great guest. Before we get started, I do want to remind everybody that the best way to support the show is to simply subscribe, like, and share this episode with your friends. Also, if you want to get more involved with the show, check out our website at pursuinggreatnesspodcast.com. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you have your pen and paper ready to take some notes on some great wisdom coming your way. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side of the episode. All right, and we are live. Today we have with us Bill Carmody. Bill is a TEDx storyteller, author, and a professional certified coach with the International Coaching Federation. When he is not supporting his clients and dear friends in their relationships and careers, he delivers powerful week-long trainings for marketing and media companies. Bill, and also he is publishing a book called The 3 Rules of Marriage. Don't want to leave that one out there. Bill, thank you very much for jumping on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Gabe.
Absolutely, absolutely. To get us started, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, and how you got started down that path in the first place.
Yeah, what I love is I started my career in 1994 building the very first commercial websites for AT&T, MasterCard, CVS, and Coors Brewing Company.
Nice.
Thank you. I built and exited 2 multi-million-dollar marketing agencies. So I built them from the ground up and then was able to successfully exit both of them. And what I switched to coaching and training is because the fulfillment that I really wanted was to help people. And as much as I enjoyed building brands and making companies money, it was so much more fulfilling to help individuals than just be part of the giant machine.
I can completely understand that. And now it sounds like, you're doing different types of coaching. You work in, relationship, marriage type, and then also it sounds like career coaching as well. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's exactly right. So I work with executives. Really where this whole 3 Rules of Marriage book came from was in coaching executives and executive teams. Relationships at home kept coming up. So it was interesting is that I was talking to them about what they're doing in their business, and inevitably it was, if there's a spouse issue, that would be the thing that was driving them batshit crazy for their job. And so the ability to actually go and fix that became a precursor to a lot of the other work we were doing. So relationships were key, and I was ready to sort of talk about how to really make that happen once and for all.
I love that. I love that. Not that people are having problems with relationships, but the fact that, this is pursuing greatness, and we look at how to live a great life in 4 areas. We look at your health, your business, and your relationships, and your spirit. We kind of throw that one in there because I feel like that's another, I don't know the word right now. It's late in the day.
A domain of existence.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But anyways, I love that, that's kind of playing out in your career. You're seeing that the business side is intimately, no pun intended, connected with the relationship side of your life. And so when one falls, the other one falls as well. When one rises, the other one rises as well.
100%. And that's what I found is also in these ideals is when somebody has a powerful relationship at home, they bring it into the office. And when the home life is in trouble, they bring that into the office too. So the idea of really working on your relationship domain will actually improve your business, your spirit, and your happiness and your health. So all of those things are interconnected. So that's what I love about, like, you can take on any one of them and it impacts all of them.
Awesome. Man, there's a lot of cool ways we can go with this.
I'm excited.
I want to go into what makes a really powerful relationship. But before we do that, I do want to, hash out your story just a little bit more. So
please.
You launched these multi-million-dollar companies. You were doing great on the business side. You decided that you wanted to actually go into coaching because it, gave you more fulfillment. How did you get in? You already mentioned a little bit how you went into the relationship side, but tell us how that blossomed, the original, jump from corporate to coaching.
What I realized was when I stepped back and look at my life, I was finding that making a company like EMC another $10 million, while was great for the resume and great for our reputation as a business, what I was not feeling was the fulfillment of connecting to the individual people that I was supporting. And what I realized was what I loved most was not the actual work of marketing that I was using for these businesses, these brands. It was the relationship I was having with my clients. And what I wanted was more of that. And so from that perspective, I looked at, well, where could I really add the most value? And really from being a servant leader, it was a matter of, hey, this is integration. How do I help someone advance in their career? How do I help someone really step into their full brilliance and power? How do I like take someone, especially like if you look at the dynamics at work, if you're looking at diversity and inclusion, a person of color being able to step into the executive suite and the executive role and not have to change themselves so that they can fit in to that particular culture. Same thing with the dynamics of men and women. Like there's so many aspects that were rich and fulfilling and just felt so great to help individuals progress in their careers. That motivated me. And so when I realized, okay, I'd really done the agency work, I loved it. 25 years in marketing, awesome. It was fantastic, but it was time for the next chapter. And for me, it was really about getting close and figuring out how I could help more people in my life as opposed to more brands making more money. That just didn't fill me up the same way as when I help someone with a breakthrough. That is the most amazing feeling that I ever experienced. And I wanted more of it. So it was like an addiction, right? I want to help people as many as I can.
I like it. So your first client was that probably somebody that you had worked with
Yes.
previously in the corporate world?
Correct. So what I did is I reached out in my LinkedIn network and I started working initially when I was getting my certification. I would do a lot of this work just for practice. So I did it for free. I reached out to a lot of individual clients and said, hey, I've done a lot of this work. Would you mind if we play in this other capacity? And most of them were very open to it. So it was great. And once I started doing this, some said, hey, you're really good at this. Can I hire you? And it was great. So it was an organic transition where at the time I wasn't even fishing for business. I was literally just trying to get experience. And then that just organically moved into a really successful coaching business. And then what I realized after that was there's so many powerful coaches out there that needed support. I started coaching coaches on their marketing. And so I like full circle, right? Like went right back to my expertise and looked at how to connect those dots as well.
I love it. Yeah, I like how things like that kind of grow organically. Like you're doing one thing. For me, it was real estate. I really like being in real estate. And then I wanted to connect more with other people in real estate. And so I started the Real Estate Investing Club, which is another podcast. And then I really like podcasts. People were reaching out to me. And now I have Pursuing Greatness. So it's fun how things kind of grow organically when you're really doing something that you love.
I love it.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
So let's jump into relationships. You already mentioned, you see it in your clients when the relationships are on the rocks at home, they just cannot perform in their business life and vice versa. So, kind of take us, what are some common issues that you see people dealing with in the relationship side of things? And how do you kind of coach them through that to find a resolution or to, I don't really know how to put it, but I guess find a resolution. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. And so really it says it actually in the title, the 3 rules of marriage. And it's actually could be broader. I could actually call this the 3 rules of relationships because they are synonymous.
Yeah.
And how you treat your spouse is the same way you're going to treat your team. And so what I did is I started playing with this. I was writing for Inc.com, and I actually put this out as a test case to show, hey, these are the 3 rules of relationships. And it really did well. And I started using that in my coaching. And that was what sort of inspired the book. But the 3 rules are very simple. The first rule is don't keep score. At the end of the day,
nice.
What ends up happening in relationships is you start saying, well, I did this for you, or you did that for me. And as you keep score, you constantly are drugging up the past. Mm-hmm. So every time, like, I did this, you did that, what you're doing, keeping score, is you're holding the relationship to the history that it was, not the present moment and not from a future space. So that's the first thing. The second thing, it's more important to say, I appreciate you than I love you. Now, the interesting thing about that one is, it's that, I was taught that love was the most important, virtue, if you will, that we all step into love. But the thing about love is it's very general in the sense that when someone says, I love you, it can mean a lot of different things. And even if you're fighting someone and you don't like them, you can still say, I love you. Right. Yep. And be authentic about it. But when you
it's hard to say, I appreciate you in those moments.
It is. So if you, when I see my wife take out the garbage or do the dishes or do my laundry, any of those things, I'm like, I really sincerely appreciate what you're doing for me. Thank you for doing that. That genuine appreciation is felt. and that lands for your spouse. And now that also happens at work. When we think about relationships at work, how often do the people that matter most to us come up and say how much they appreciate our work? It's just expected, right? If you get a paycheck, there's a subconscious contract here which says you do your job and I'll pay you, right? And that's just the arrangement that we create. But without the level of appreciation, what ends up happening is people just get done. They're like, I don't feel appreciated. I don't care. They tend to move on. But if someone is loved and appreciated and specifically experiences the specific concrete things that they're appreciated for, they want to do more of it.
Absolutely. And that's funny because it reminds me of I worked in corporate for, I think I had to have been 7-8 years before jumping out doing my own thing. And when I was in corporate, I made plenty of money, and they would offer, I wasn't even thinking about a raise. What I was mostly dissatisfied with in that environment was kind of the lack of appreciation. I felt like, I was kind of a cog and wasn't being recognized. And it wasn't the money. It was the appreciation aspect that just, I just couldn't deal with it. It just wasn't, didn't work out. So it sounds like appreciation works on both sides, your relationships. And first, I like that you said, relationships and marriages, you can kind of switch them in and out, because a relationship and a marriage, they're all relationships.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what you're talking about.
And the relationship at work is exactly the same, that most people spend more time in their job than they'll ever spend with their families, which is a sad fact. So what ends up happening is, what you do in your workplace, you bring home with you to your family, and vice versa. What you do in your family life comes to work. So the idea of really having these rules as concrete ways to ensure that you're constantly being in the present moment, as opposed to living from the past or starting to get animosity build up. You want to be able to be clear with all of it, which leads to the third and final rule, which is never go to bed angry. So the idea there is to have clarity that you're ending your day complete. And so in the relationship context, it's before I go to bed, before my head hits the pillow, I want to be clear with my wife. So if there's any anger or animosity or anything that's come up during the day that has not resolved, I get to make a choice. Either I'm going to let it go or I'm going to deal with it. If it means staying up late and having that conversation, like if it's really that important to me, it's important to get on it now. Yeah. If it's not that important to me, then I get to let it go. And then see rule number 1, don't keep score. Right. So I don't get to keep score. If I choose not to talk about it tonight, it's over the next day and I get to start fresh. Absolutely. And that's the same thing at work. If you think about it, like if you're keeping score, you're constantly like dragging the past up and you're never going to feel fulfillment at your job. And so it's the same thing. If you can actually let every day go, like you start fresh the next day, you're constantly going to be in that place of happiness and pursuing the greatness that you're capable of. So connecting those dots there, it's perfect.
I like it. So never go to bed angry. I like that one. The one thing that pops up into my mind when I hear that is, in some relationships that I've had in the past or even current time, sometimes, what is it? How do I say this? Sometimes things come up where it's not like we're going to bed angry, but we were both kind of super stressed at work or whatever it may be, and we argue and then we go to bed. And so I guess the question comes, how do you, it's not really the relationship, but it's more the context that you're dealing with in that
That's right.
specific time in life. So how do you get out of that mindset and like not go to bed angry when in your body you just feel exhausted, you feel angry, you just feel done?
Perfect. I love that question, Gabe. Seriously. The idea here is I call it a clearing. So what you want to do is you want to create a clearing and be a space of a clearing. So let's say that you and your spouse just had an argument. Now you're both angry, but at the same time, you're just like, I'm letting it go, but I'm still kind of pissed off. Right. Mm-hmm. So you're not really letting it go. You still have anger that's there. You're just hiding it and you're doing a good job of masking it. Instead of doing that, it's an opportunity to say, okay, what really is underneath this? Because here's what really becomes profound. All events are neutral. And what I mean by that is the energy we put on an event is the energy we bring to it. So no matter what happens, like whatever happened is a fact, right? When you see the fact, but we collapse fact and interpretation. And the interpretation comes from how we feel about whatever happened. And so part of the anger and animosity, like let's say you're at work and your boss comes down on you hard for something that you didn't feel was justified. And now you've got all this anger inside of you. Well, if you don't figure out a way to release that on the way home, now you're in front of your spouse and suddenly you release that anger on your spouse, which they did nothing wrong, but there's just like, "Arr!" And now what's happening is you've activated your spouse who was totally fine and happy a minute ago. Now they're angry and upset. So what happens is then that's like now we're playing a tennis match of anger and frustration, just hitting back and forth. And we're both trying to win, which is stupid. What are we winning? Nothing, right? But that's what we do. That's the racket that we have. So let's reverse that situation. Let's say that someone comes down at your work, you have the anger inside of you. Well, here's an opportunity for you to actually like clear for yourself before you even walk in the door, before you actually switch out. And so part of that job, part of what you're doing is you're getting clear for yourself to say, okay, what actually happened? Okay, my boss had words with me. Okay, what did I make up about what happened, right? Okay, so the story that I heard was, I'm no good, I suck, I'm terrible at my job, whatever. Those are interpretations. But okay, now from that, what emotion did I experience? Anger, frustration, whatever, those types of things. You see how I'm sort of unpacking this now? I'm uncollapsing the fact from the interpretation. Great, so what's my payoff? I get to be angry and frustrated. Well, I get to be righteous. I get to be in control. I get, like all these payoffs that I receive. But there's a price. And the price that I pay is disconnection, loneliness, all of these things that are just now, and totally not worth it. So when I walk in the door, I want to be able to have that clarity of, okay, honey, before I talk to you, I want to just clear something. It has nothing to do with you. I'm a little bit activated right now. Here's what happened at work. And I don't need you to solve anything for me. I just want to share so I can literally let it go. I don't want to react. I don't want to be angry at you. So here's what I'm going to tell you. This is what happened. This is what I made up about what happened, right? This is the payoffs that I get for making up what happened. And these are the prices that I pay. And now when I say that, logically, I can simmer down and I can drop into my body and I can say, now I can be fully present with you. And see that sidestep all the anger, all the animosity. I'm no longer lashing out at my partner. I'm now with my partner in a place of absolute clarity. And with that, we can build the relationship we want to have and really hit that greatness stride, if you will.
I like it. I like it. I like the almost formulaic nature of how you're kind of releasing that energy. I do that now. When I know that I'm angry about something completely different, somebody approaches me, I almost like, I have it pent up in my body and I just let them know like, hey man, I'm angry about this other thing. Just know that. I'm sorry if it leaks onto you, but that's just where I'm at. But you've added addition.
But even just right there, even just that gives the other person the opportunity to understand that you've been activated and that has nothing to do with them. Mm-hmm. So just that, if you did nothing more than what you just shared, you now at least gave your friend or your partner the shields, like the ability to have shields up. Like, okay, this is not about me. This is about something else. Having the presence of mind to do that will certainly allow and change the dynamic. So what you're doing is perfect. It's great.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. I mean, the way that you laid it out, there are a few more steps there and I like that extra layering. So I also liked, you mentioned that everything is empty of meaning. And I think that's absolutely true. That's very a Buddhist kind of belief and I love it. Everything really is empty of meaning unless you give it meaning. And that's so easy to give things negative meanings when you're in, a bad headspace. And so you got to watch out for that stuff, especially when it comes to relationships.
Totally. Yeah, no, you're dead on. And I think that is the philosophy that I hold. And I would say if I go the other way, if we really truly are talking about greatness and what does greatness mean, for me, part of greatness is gratitude. Like if I really look at what is the formula for me, when I look at my own greatness of what I've achieved, it's being grateful for what I have and not comparing what I have to what I think it should be. To me, that's where everything gets messed up, right? It's like, okay, if I'm thankful for what I have, I get more of it, right? I'm able to align with that which I want and continue to get more of it. And therefore, I am pursuing my greatness in my own way. Now, the flip side of that is by saying, okay, what I have is not what I want. I'm ignoring all the good stuff that I have because I'm pursuing what I actually want. And from there, I'm focusing on the gap, which means what we focus on expands. I'm focusing on what I don't have, so I don't have more. You know what I mean? So it builds. But if I focus on what I do have and I feel true, authentic gratitude toward that, then that will help me grow all these other areas of my life, which is awesome.
Gratitude is super, super important. The hard part for me is that you're right. I 100% agree. Gratitude is important. but you also, I mean, maybe I'm doing it wrong, but in my life, I feel like I do need to look at my goals, and
Yes.
want to go in that direction, and kind of augment that sensation of a gap, in order to get that motivation to get up and do whatever it is that needs to be done. Obviously there is an element of discomfort in that, and I'm not claiming that it's the right way. There
Sure.
may be a better way to do it, but what do you think?
Yeah, so there's a distinction that you're making, which is really powerful, of the clarity of what I want. So I'm completely aligned with what you're saying. Every year I go through and say, what do I look to accomplish this year? So what are the things I want to accomplish? And so rather than making New Year's resolutions, really next month, September, when I start doing this work, I will actually sit down and say, okay, here's what I'm planning on doing for the next year. And so when looking at that, what I'm doing is I'm building my plan. I'm saying, okay, strategically, here's what I'm up to, right? So from there, now I have a foundation of my target. Here's what I want to accomplish. Now, the distinction of having clarity is not being driven by the gap, but by being driven by the growth, which is to say, okay, so if I were to put in a GPS, I need to know where I am and where I want to end up. So having clarity of where I want to end up is critical. I need to know that. Where I am is the opportunity to have great gratitude for where I am in this moment, and then say, what's my path? What's my course that I'm going to take to get from where I am today, which I'm truly grateful for. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with where I'm at, but I have a desire to go to a different place. So what are the steps I'm going to take to get there? From there, I'm not being driven by negative self-talk, right? That's where
Mm-hmm.
we get messed up. Because I'll tell you, my hyperachiever typically will activate and say, I'm going to do it all next week, raw, right? And then, of course,
1 week,
inevitably,
everything.
right? And I fail, right? We overestimate what we can do in a week, and we underestimate what we can accomplish in a year. So the
Mm.
idea here is to say, realistically, if there's 52 weeks, let's chunk this out and let's look at 12 months. Okay, I have a 12-month calendar. What am I doing? That's even quarterly. So there's ways for us to play with this and say, okay, annual, quarterly, next 90 days, right? And so then from there, I can say, what do I feel I can realistically accomplish? And then from there, I'm not being driven by my negative self-talk. I'm being driven by my motivation of, I'm so grateful for what I have. Look what I get to do even more when I accomplish the next level of achievement. And so from there, that achievement is allowing me to have the art of fulfillment while I'm achieving in that process. So the lack of achievement doesn't drive me. The ability to actually push through and feel fulfilled on my way to the next level of achievement is what drives me.
I love it. I love it. And crap, I was just thought came into my head right at the
Sorry.
end here that I was going to ask you a question about, but it just escaped me. So we're going to have to move on, I guess.
Okay, that's good.
Um,
It'll come back to you. And when it does, just interrupt me. We'll dive right back into it. It's perfect.
yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Actually, we are at the end. We try to keep this
Yeah,
around 20 to 30 minutes. That one
great.
question would have pushed it to the 30-minute mark, but
Perfect.
we're at the end. We hit 20 minutes. So I'm going to go into our quick round, and this is where we ask very quick questions,
Great.
and you give us your answer.
Great.
The first one's super easy. I'm a big book person, and so I like to ask people their favorite books. One for the topic you're talking about, so relationships, and then one just any other general life wisdom book.
Great. So the first one that I would say for in relationships would be the 5 love languages. And the 5 love languages specifically I reference in my book in the 3 rules of marriage, and talking about that importance of hearing your partner's love language. And then in terms of life, there's so many great books out there. It's really hard to pick one. But what I will tell you is Ray Dalio Principles has been really, really powerful for me. And if it's on a wealth side, it's on the Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. Both of those two have really been profound influences on my life.
Awesome. I've read all those books and I love them all. So great,
Yeah, it's good
great
stuff.
recommendations.
Thank you.
And also, of course, for people listening and watching, the 3 Rules of Marriage by Bill Carmody. You should definitely add that one in there.
Thank you.
Next question. I'm a big proponent of quotes. If you have a favorite quote or word of wisdom, what would that be?
My favorite is the Yoda quote: "Do or do not. There is no try."
Love it.
I love that one. To me, that one just speaks volumes, because if we want to take bold action, it is not about trying to do something. It's really about doing it. Just, I'm committed to doing it. And I'm now driven by my commitment rather than my feelings. Do or do not, there is no try.
Yep. Just do it. That's my favorite quote. And
Yep.
that's right there.
Yep.
All right. And the next one, if you could go back to Bill, who just started out, say, 10 years ago, no, just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
The number of years ago, and give that Bill one piece of advice going forward, what would that piece of advice be?
You've already won.
Ooh, I like that.
See, the thing about it is that I had it in my mind as a young that success was out there. And so my constant drive was to be successful in this illusionary concept that it was an external validation by others. But by saying I already won, my focus inside of myself is I already have everything I need from within me. So all I need is within me now. That vision of all I need is within me now means I've already won. And ultimately, all this is allowing life to manifest in such a way that I show my greatness. My greatness is already here. I don't need to do anything. I just get to be.
Yep, you need to express it. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Next one, if you could pinpoint one habit that's contributed the most to your success, what would that habit be?
Automate my savings. So what I mean by
Ooh,
that is
interesting.
the best thing that's ever happened to me is I learned when you do direct deposit with your employer, you can specify 2 accounts, not 1. And so what I did is I automated 20% off the top of my net, and that 20% went directly into a separate account, which has made me a financial freedom multimillionaire. And the reason they do it is that if the government came out with a 20% tax, you'd bitch, you'd moan, you'd complain, but you'd pay it. So the idea is when you take 20% off the top, you'll adjust to that 80%. You will. And frankly, if you can, when you get another raise or a bonus, I would continue to push that forward. But where I've become financially free is that one change. It's made all the difference.
That's really good. I like that. You're the first person to say that, and I've asked that to many, many people. So that's a good one. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
Next one, and this is the final quick question.
Yeah.
Apps and tools, we use them all the time. I'm not a huge fan of having a lot of them, but there are the ones that really do add to your life. So one app or tool recommendation that you could give people, what would it be?
So number 1 is the Positive Intelligence app. If you haven't checked it out, it is one of the most profound apps out there. It really helps you eliminate your negative self-talk and increase your positive thinking. So it's a whole nother conversation, but I'll leave it to that, Positive Intelligence. And the other one that's very similar to that is A Course in Miracles. If you've not checked out A Course in Miracles, it is very much the spirituality that you've referenced, having a focus and frame of mind every day to figure out how to be a better person on a regular basis.
Yeah. I love it. I'm going to have to check those out. I haven't heard about that yet.
Great.
All right. And so if someone, if somebody wanted to learn more about you and get in contact with you, where should they go to do that?
First is first, I would ask them to go to 3rulesofmarriage.com, 3rulesofmarriage.com, and then billcarmody.com is my personal website. Anyone who wants to reach out to me can reach out at bill@billcarmody.com. And I would be happy to support any and all of your listeners. One thing I offer, everyone who listens to me on a podcast gets a 1-hour free coaching session with me. So no strings attached, no asking for business. This is an opportunity for you to just process whatever coming up for you. And because they're listening to this interview, they get to have that from me.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you for giving that to the listeners. So that's 3rulesofmarriage.com,
Yeah.
and then bill@billcarmody.com, or just billcarmody.com if you want to go to the website. And that is spelled BILLCARMODY.com.
Yes. Thank you so much, Gabe.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Bill, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciated it. And I know everybody listening and watching did as well. For everybody who is here with us on this journey today, thank you guys for showing up. Again, the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, and share with your friends and family. Other than that, we look forward to seeing everybody on the next episode. Thank you guys for sticking with us on another episode of the Pursuing Greatness podcast. I hope you got a lot of value out of that guest. Again, the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, and share with your friends and family. Also, check out pursuinggreatnesspodcast.com if you want to get more information about what we do and what we offer. I hope you guys have a great day and keep living in integrity with yourselves. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode coming shortly.